360 photography and using Bridge and Photoshop to create some actions and learn about batch conversions as well. Okay, so I have my Bridge open, and Bridge looks like this, that little icon right there. Click on it. And I'm on my desktop, and I downloaded ScriptCheck's photographs, which is right here. Okay, so I'm going to delete this right now. This is the original JPEGs. And so here's Dan's Product 360. Now, it's not perfect. He shot if you can see here, 1/20, which I don't recommend. 1/60 to 1/100 is fine, considering the object's not actually moving. You don't need a fast shutter speed. And he actually did burst photography, which created this vignette. Actually, let me just spacebar it. You guys see how the right side's kind of faded? Okay, that's just the shutter lag, and the shutter speed's not fast enough with the flash. Okay, but the photograph looks crisp and sharp. So he has them numbered based on the sequence that the camera actually photographs them in. So 20, 21, 22. Now, what I'm going to do first, guys, is show you a batch conversion. This image is actually way too big for the internet. It's 2000 by 3000, way too big. We don't need file size. That's bigger than the screen resolution. Okay. So what I'm going to do first is show you how to do a batch conversion. So I'm going to grab all these photographs. Instead of going to Photoshop one by one, save them and reducing the size, I'll do it all at once. Okay. So what I do is go to Tools, Photoshop, and Image Processor. You guys see that? Okay. A box will pop up. And what I like to recommend is you make them JPEGs. The internet likes JPEGs. For those of you that converted made them RAW files and want to make them JPEGs, you can do this as well. You can make them PSDs if you like as well. It'll do both, and TIFFs, but we don't need that right now. Resize to fit. So pick a size that you want to use, and that's relatively the size that you want to put on your browser. The smaller the file, the faster it's going to be loaded on the computer. So I'll choose like 800, and whether you shot portrait or landscape, it'll just be 800, and it will proportionally do the other dimension. So if it's 800 wide, it will proportionally scale that as well. You want high res, use 12. If you want to reduce the quality to save the file size, then maybe use 8. I don't think going below 6 is a good idea. 6 to 12, okay? And you can do this multiple times and see what looks better, okay? So what happens is it saves in the same location as JPEGs, and they're going to reduce the file size. Okay, so what's happening here, if you can see, if you go to Bridge, a folder called JPEG is created, and inside that folder is a replica, but it's highly reduced. Now, it's 800 by 533 pixels. Now, if I go back to the original, you can see that it's reduced the file size. It's sorry, let me go back here. Number one, it's 125 kilobytes, where the actual first image was 1.83 meg. So it's like reduced it by almost threefold. Does that make sense, guys? So this is a good thing, because when you're processing this, the images on the internet need data, right? So, okay, so reducing the file size is a good thing for this application. Now, his last number was 69, so appropriate. And there we are, 69. So now we have the same photographs, but just slightly reduced in file size. Actually, wait a minute. It was 1.8 meg, and it's 125 kilobytes. Guys, it's tenfold, not threefold. That's tenfold file reduction. Okay. Now, so right now, Bridge is telling me that this is 100%, and it's great. So guys, do the batch conversion first. Okay. So again, you go to Tools, Photoshop, Image Processor, and it will load another folder of JPEGs into your, okay? Now, say I got to color correct and crop and do enhancements. It would suck to do this for every single one. Is there an easier way to do this? Okay? This is where we get to actions. Okay? So what I'm going to do is open one of these into Photoshop. Okay, so I double clicked it. My computer defaults to go to Photoshop. So what I'm going to do here is, Would you agree that Dan's photograph is not centered? No, it's not. All right, so what I'm going to do here is show you actions. Now, default actions are ones that are designed with Photoshop. Like, for example, if I click on the sepia toning, I can play it, and it will create this into a sepia tone photograph. Now, what it does all these steps for you. Okay, so if I wanted to, I can select all of Dan's pictures and do the same thing. Okay, but I don't want to do that, so I'll go back to my history, go back to the original, and start from there. Now, you can create your own action. You guys ready? Okay. You're going to click on your Actions tab and drop down a new action. Okay. And you can say crop, or you can say, I'll just say 360. Now, notice there's a red dot. That means what we're doing is live, and everything gets recorded. Okay. So it's going to actually, whatever steps I create on this is going to be saved, and then I can apply that same steps to all 68 pictures, or how many pictures are left in that. Does that make sense, guys? It's a time saver. Okay? So imagine, watch this. I get my crop tool, and because they're photographed the same way, and I know that his object goes wide, so I won't go too narrow because the width of it would be cut. Thank you. So I'm using the rule of thirds view, and you can pick and choose in Photoshop with the crop tool what kind of grid you want to use. And now I have him dead center in between the two columns. You guys see that? Okay, I'm going to press enter, and notice that on my actions, that step was recorded, and it took the dimensions. Okay, you want to do the action after you do the image, as me and some others have figured out later on. Now, I can do other things. And guys, we're going to use your basic knowledge from previous courses. I'm going to image, adjustments. Say I want to increase the hue and saturation. I want to increase the saturation so it's brighter and sharper. Or maybe you want to do the opposite. You want to reduce the saturation and dull it down a bit. It's up to you. Okay. Maybe I want to make it a little lighter. Actually, bring some contrast. Now notice when I press OK, that hue and saturation action was attached to my own action I created. I'm still recording. Okay. You could do other things like levels. So Command L, play with the levels a bit. Say you want to bring a white point, and you want to bring the white background in there. Just make sure when you're doing these things, you're not clicking an area where the object photographs. You want to click the empty area. Okay, so that was a bad idea. So I didn't accept that, so it didn't accept that transformation. Let's just say I'm happy with these two actions, or two steps in my action. I'm going to press stop. Awesome. Okay. Now, I could also add saving and closing, but I'm not going to bother. Okay. So I'm going to just close this and don't save it because I still have my actions. So what I'm going to do is go back to Bridge, press Command A, selects everything. Okay. Go to Tools, Photoshop, and Batch. You guys see that? Now, it's going to activate Photoshop, but because it was the last action I just created, there's other ones in there as well, like the sepia one we just used, but it has the 360, the one we just used. So I'll use that action. I'll say save and close, and press OK. So what happens now, it's applying, and as you see in Bridge, so now every single one got cropped and got image corrected as well. Now, that's pretty much it for creating actions. You can add other steps to it. You pick and choose and think about what steps you want to include in your action. Any questions so far? Pretty straightforward. It's a time saver. It's a pretty cool feature that Photoshop has. Highly recommend use it on your application.